All right, everybody. I just wanted to give you a little quick walkthrough of what I did here. I used obviously these papers that I went ahead and used the acrylic paints on with my jelly plate. Just putting the paint on the jelly plate, rolling it with the brayer, and then pressing the paper right onto that jelly plate, lifting it off and letting it dry. And then I used my ruler right here on the edge and just teared the paper against it so that I could have the roughed edges to the papers. So those are a couple of the prints that I showed. And then I went ahead and did some of the cutouts from the All-American paper collection from Country Craft Creations. I went ahead and used a die that I have in my stash to make these tiny little folders. And I think that they're so cute. And then I used those together with some other papers and cut aparts from the collection here. I stacked them on top of each other, just like so, like back and forth, like this, offset them a little bit. And then once I had stacked together all of the things that I wanted to stack, whether it be papers like this or an envelope, from my junk stash, from the mail, that I used with the paint, something like that, and cut the ends off of it so that it would be a pocket. Or a glassine envelope or other papers that I just mishmashed in there. I stitched down the center in this case. If you don't have a sewing machine or if you don't like to do that, you can always poke holes in the center and use some string or some twine or some thread or some cross-stitching threads or some seam binding. I've done it like that before. And then you just make a book out of it. So here's the one that I made. I covered the front here with the cut apart, like I said, and layered it up on some red cardstock. Then I went ahead and created a little pocket here. I just took a piece of the light blue Artisan Cardstock. I have another one here, Nicole, somewhere. Let's see. I'll put it all away. Imagine that. No matter. Pretend this is a piece of the paper, and obviously what I did, we've done pockets before, is fold the bottom up 1/2 inch, fold each of the sides up 1/2 inch, like that, and then you want to cut out the corners, just like that. Use your scissors so that they're straight. But then I fold in the sides and then fold up the bottom, and that creates the pocket. And you want the finished measurement to fit your page, okay? So then you glue that down. So that's what I did with that blue Artisan. This is the back side of this paper that I used on the jelly plate. This is one of the cut aparts. And then I put some of those little folders that I used, one of my dies, to just cut out these papers from the All-American collection. So I think that's super cute, and they can just tuck right in here. As long as you have them the right way, Nicole. Okay. So tuck those in like that. And then here's one of the pages. Now it's extra long, so the other side is over here on this half right here. So you can see this paper goes all the way like this, and I just folded over the ends to give some flaps. So on this side, I open it up, there's the flap. I used a little stamp, got this stamp from Miss Bonnie when we did a retreat up in Vermont a couple years back with Country Craft Creations. Flip that page over. This one right here is actually an envelope that I had made. So I folded up an envelope out of some cardstock that I had in my stash paper, and then I went ahead and sealed it shut. And then in this case, I just trimmed off one side. Actually, I had it like this. I didn't seal it shut. How did I do this? Yeah, I didn't seal it shut. I just cut it like this so that you only had this portion of the envelope in there. So that's another way that you can just use some envelopes if you have them in your stash. But I sealed it shut by stitching. You can use glue. And I just made this little pocket here. Used a stamp for my collection. There's the other piece of blue Artisan that I had. I made it into a little journaling spot as a tuck. Here's a piece that is an ephemera from the collection. Here's another piece from the collection that I just tore the edges and then put 2 running stitches down to make it a little flap. I used a stencil here with my dauber and some distress ink, a vintage photo distress ink there. This is one of the pages that I used on the Gelli plate with some glue. Here's one of the cut aparts, little ephemera pieces from the collection, and you can see this is a piece of a junk envelope from the mail. I cut the side of it to make it a pocket, and then I just went ahead and folded up some paper from my stash, so I have a journaling spot or a place to put some photos and tuck it in there, just like that. Okay, here's some of that Gelli plate printing. What I did on this one, you'll see in the video, is that I put the paint down on the Gelli plate. I used the brayer to spread it, and then I put the stencil on top, pressed it down in there, rolled it over again with the same brayer, and then lifted that up and then pressed my paper down on top of it so that I could pick up that print. Okay, you peel it off and you get that. So that's that one. Here's a piece from the collection. It's one of the cut aparts from the collection. I just glued it down on 3 edges. And then the other side is one of the pages that I used with the Gelli print, and I folded over the edge here. I'm gonna pull this out. I folded over the edge and I stitched it closed just so that I would have a nice clean edge on that. Here's another one of the ephemera pieces from the collection. Turn it over. Another one of the cut aparts. This is a glassine bag that goes through. This is 1/2 of it. I cut off the end here and put some rickrack on it so that I could use it as a pocket. So here's some more of those little file folders from the collection. Isn't that cool? Look at this one. Sing those sweet words of liberty with boys of land and sea. Isn't that cool? So then I'll stick that back in here. It's just fun to have the different textures in here, and you can add some journaling and some photos. There's another piece that I used on the Gelli plate. I fussy cut this from the collection and this as well. Used some more rickrack and placed a little piece. Now this is the other half of an envelope as well. Here's a little torn piece from the collection that I just glued down so that it helps define the edge of the pocket. Rickrack on this side, the torn piece over here from Country Craft Creations, and made a little envelope. This little coin envelope. That's a die from my stash. Here's a stamp that I used on the back side of a page. This is the middle. All right, we're getting right to the middle here. So you can see where I stitched right down the middle. Okay. Keep going. Some more stamps throughout. Here's the other side of an envelope. You can see it a little bit here where this is the envelope. I cut off the edge and then I used a hole punch in order to make the little notch. So I haven't finished making this all fat and cute, but you can see this is the other side of the glassine bag. Here's the other side of that other envelope, and it was a long envelope, so I just tucked it over, just like that. And then I have this space that I can tuck something behind and see it, and that will look cool. Okay. Here's the other side of that first envelope. That's the flap from this piece right here. So on the other side, I cut off this top piece, like this, right to the corner. just like that. So this was the pocket on the other side. Here. Okay. And where did I put it? And this is the flat piece right here. Okay. I just glued it down to the back side of this page that I did from the Gelli plate. I used a stamp. I already showed you this one. I used a stamp on that. Stamp here, and that's the back. And that's the walkthrough of my little mini junk journal. Using the All-American paper collection from Country Craft Creations. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to you crafting with me soon. Until next time, everyone, happy crafting you all. Bye.